Hi everyone, this is Professor Kidwai, your instructor in the art of film. Welcome to another video lecture exploring and developing our visual glossary of the techniques of cinematography. Okay, in this video lecture we are going to look at what is probably my favorite aspect of cinematography, which is dynamic cinematography, also known as the moving camera, moving shots, okay? Shots in which the camera itself is moving, okay? So this is a very different video lecture than the previous lecture, which of course explored frame size. Frame size is all about the static camera, the camera that sits in one place, okay? Now we're exploring and analyzing the camera that moves. Now, there are several different techniques that all fall under the category of the moving camera. I'm going to talk about some of these techniques, and then I'm going to give you guys examples from films of some of these techniques. Now, before I get into this lecture, I do want to give one warning, which is that I have a lot of different video clips that are open on the computer, and I'm a little bit afraid that maybe some of these clips are going to play slowly just because I have so much going on in my computer right now. So if that happens, please be patient. Just be aware of whatever my limitations are. Okay, so let's get into this lecture on the moving camera. So first of all, I've listed here a list of different shot types that fall in this category of dynamic cinematography or the moving camera. This is not necessarily an exhaustive list. I'm sure that there are other shots that we could include in here. I have a pan shot, but I don't have a separate entrance for a whip pan. This isn't, in other words, this isn't a list that covers every single type of moving camera shot, but it does cover all of the major shots. The aerial shot, the arc shot, the crane shot, the dolly shot, which is sometimes known as a tracking shot, the handheld shot, the pan shot, the pedestal shot, the POV shot, Steadicam shot, and the tilt shot. Okay, now there are a couple of shots that I'm not going to define in this lecture that are in this list. So I want to start off by highlighting those. Okay, the reason I'm not defining these is because either A, they are very, very common sense sort of shots that I think you already know, or B, I've already shown you examples of these shots in other lectures, which is why I don't want to really spend time on them. Okay, so the first shot that I'm not really going to talk about is the handheld shot. It is exactly what it sounds like when the camera is actually held by the camera operator and the camera operator moves through space. All of you are familiar with this type of cinematic technique. I know because I'm pretty sure that we have all seen some garbage reality television show, in our lifetime. Of course, where would the reality television show be without the handheld shot? Okay, so that's one shot that I won't be addressing in this lecture. Another shot that I'm not really addressing is the POV shot, the point of view shot. The point of view shot is also exactly what it sounds like. It's a shot that is framed and constructed to indicate a character's point of view. So we're really looking through the camera we're looking through the camera as if we're looking through a character's eyes, okay? The other shot that I'm not going to give an example of because I've already given so many, examples of this shot in this class is the Steadicam shot. We're actually going to watch a scene from Martin Scorsese's film Goodfellas that will use a Steadicam, but I'm not defining it here because, of course, in our discussion of The Shining and in our viewing of the documentary on The Shining, Room 237, they obviously there talked a lot about the Steadicam. The Steadicam is just a kind of harness that was invented that changed filmmaking, by the way, but it was a harness that was invented in which a camera operator can wear a camera on his or her body and move through a space, shooting the space without any kind of distortion or jarring movement, right? In other words, it smooths out movement. as the camera operator moves through a space. That's the Steadicam shot, okay? But these other shots I'm going to go through and define and give you guys examples of, okay? So let's start with the aerial shot. The aerial shot is sometimes also known as the helicopter shot. Now, I normally wouldn't have included it in this list of moving shots because, you know, the aerial shot in some ways is just kind of a really fancy crane shot, you know, except the crane is like a helicopter, right? But the aerial shot is very often listed as a unique shot in the list of moving shots, so I have included it here just so you guys can see it. You know, it's a technique that can provide an establishing shot or an extreme long shot that will give us a sense of where we are in the film, okay? It's a shot in the sky that's usually done by a helicopter, although now, of course, aerial shots are done by drones. You know, it's a helicopter shot in the sky that just shows us where we are. It gives us a sense of geography. It gives us a sense of scale as well, okay? The aerial shot example that I want to show you guys is from a wonderful, brilliant, beautiful film called I Am Cuba, Soy Cuba. I'm not going to talk about the film here because I will record another video lecture on the long take in which I will introduce this film properly. But I just want to show you guys this wonderful clip of an aerial shot. Now, the reason I chose I Am Cuba for the aerial shot is because this isn't merely a cinematic technique, okay? This is a film that is trying to give the viewer a glimpse into the injustices that ravaged Cuba before the communist revolution, okay? So the narrator of I Am Cuba is Cuba itself. Okay, so the aerial shot, this shot of Cuba, we're going to have this beautiful shot over the water and then over what looks like a jungle in Cuba. This aerial shot is not merely an aesthetic choice. It's introducing us to our main character, which of course is Cuba. Let's watch it. Look at this beautiful shot. The water doesn't even look real. The water almost looks like a painting, right? Or like the skin of an animal. You know, here we have these trees. They look almost like clouds. Okay, this gorgeous shot. Look at this beautiful shot of these trees. Incredible. Incredible. Okay, giving us an introduction to our main character, the island of Cuba, the island of Cuba, Soy Cuba, I Am Cuba, right? Now, I wish I could show you this entire shot, but in the interest of time, I'll stop here. The entire credit sequence is this one gorgeous aerial shot that, again, is immediately introducing us to our main character of the film, which, of course, is the island of Cuba. Okay? Let's keep going. The arc shot. The arc shot is a camera technique in which the body of the camera actually moves, okay? And the camera circles around a subject, okay? Now, there are many examples of the arc shot that I could have used. An example that I really strongly considered using were those arc shots from the film The Matrix, right? Where you see those shots that sort of spin around Keanu Reeves' character as like the bullet, as he's, you know, dodging the bullet or whatever, right? But, you know, again, I tried to use examples in this lecture of camera techniques that really conveyed meaning or conveyed narrative, okay? So instead, what I'm going to show you is a shot from Moonlight. Now, I'm pretty confident that all of you have seen Moonlight, but in case you have not seen Moonlight, for God's sake, go and see this film, okay? There was a movie that came out in the year 2000 that I was in love with. That was a film made by Wong Kar-wai, In the Mood for Love. I think I saw it in the theater like, I don't know, 40 times, 50 times. Beautiful, beautiful film. I was very depressed. for like a long period of time after In the Mood for Love came out, because I was just like, God, there's nothing that is as beautiful as In the Mood for Love. And then Moonlight came out. Thank God. Okay, Moonlight, another incredibly beautiful film. Okay, this is the beginning of Moonlight. This is, of course, the character of Juan, who we see in the background here. We're gonna see the director's use of an arc shot. Let's watch it and then I'll talk about it. Oh no, what's happening here? Okay.
What you need? Help me out, man. Nah, I can't do it, bro. You gotta keep it moving, bro. I can't do it right now, bro. Police out here, man. Keep it moving, bro.
Okay, please forgive the subtitles. I can't get them off right now.
How you good with you? I'm all right, man. I'm out handling business as usual. Look, man, I don't mean no disrespect or nothing, G. I'm just
okay, the camera spinning.
What time it is, bro? I keep looking out for you, man. Just a little something, man. All my something cost a little something, man. If you ain't gotta get the steppers, nigga, you know what time it is, bro. I ain't finna repeat myself, bro. Hey. You know you my man, right, Juan? This nigga. Yo, see if you could do something here for me. What the fuck I just told you, man? Let me get this shit, nigga. Get the fuck out of here, man.
Okay, so this is a really complex shot. I mean, this is one of the many reasons why this film is praised endlessly, right? I mean, in addition to the mise en scène just being so gorgeous, in addition to the narrative being so complex and tragic and beautiful, some of the cinematography is just really complex and incredible, okay? This shot that I showed you, it combines the arc shot, which spins around a subject, with a pan shot in which the subject spins around the camera. So it was a very complicated sort of back and forth between these techniques. This very fluid camera movement. And what does it tell us? It tells us that we're landing in the center of the world. The cosmos are spinning around this world, around this point. Everything is spinning around, right? We're landing in the center of the world. I mean, for the character of the addict who's trying to buy drugs, I mean, this is the center of the world, right? I mean, if you are an addict, if you are a junkie and you need your drugs, I mean, it's like that moment is the only moment that matters on Earth, right? So the camera giving us a sense of this. Also, of course, when we meet our main character, who at this phase in the film is a little boy who's named Little, Juan will be the center of the universe for Little. So it's a fantastic camera technique, spinning around the subject, that gives us a sense of important characters and important moments in the film. Okay, let's keep going. The crane shot. Okay, now this is another shot that, would I have included this in this list? I don't know. The crane shot in some ways is like a complicated tracking shot or a complicated dolly shot that takes place on a crane. So it's not just moving, backwards and forwards on a flat space. It can be moving up or down. It can be moving, across space at great speeds. It's a camera technique in which the camera is connected to a platform, and that platform is connected to a machine that has a raised arm. Okay, so the platform can be raised up and down. The crane itself can be driven around in different places horizontally. So it's a very, very mobile shot. Okay, that moves through space. As a shot, it can achieve a lot of different things. It can give the characters it can give the audience a sense of space, right? Because it's showing us a lot of different space. And it can connect together that space in a way that may be meaningful, or in a way that the meaning will be revealed later on. The example that I'm going to give for the crane shot is the opening shot from Orson Welles' Touch of Evil. Okay, this is a famous shot for multiple reasons. It's also an incredibly long take that has been copied and copied and copied and copied. I think that the opening of Boogie Nights is an homage to this opening of Touch of Evil. I must have said this in the Orson Welles lecture. If you get a chance, watch all of the major Orson Welles films. I mean, that if you're interested in cinema, if you're a cinephile, if you want to work in cinema, if you want to, be a cinematographer, especially, watch all of Orson Welles' films, okay? But let's watch this crane shot in the beginning of Touch of Evil. Oh, and by the way, the film itself is about a bomb that explodes on the Mexican and American border, okay? And it's an investigation into the explosion of the bomb that reveals corruption on both sides of the border. It reveals corrupt cops and gangsters and the collusion between them, okay? The linkage between them. The crane shot here is going to link between spaces, just like the film itself is showing us the linkages between these different forms of corruption. So we start with this close-up of a bomb. Okay, then we have, what looks like a tracking shot, although it's done in the crane. The bomb is put in a car. Okay, now the crane is rising. Now we see this kind of ghostly, all-seeing eye that's watching everything from the sky, right? Fantastic shot. We're still in the long take. Now we're connecting in space. Now we're getting a sense of where exactly this is. Okay, we're pulling out to see this wide intersection here, right? This wide shot of the street. Okay, we're far from the car now, so this is really about the environment. Okay, now the crane is going even higher. And then we're gonna dip low, and suddenly we're gonna focus on our main characters. Okay, Charlton Heston, Janet Leigh. Please ignore the fact that Charlton Heston is literally in brown makeup. He's literally in brown face playing a Mexican character here. Now we're walking with these two characters. We're seeing the characters in their space. They are going to investigate the crime in this space. Okay, really complex blocking. It reminds me of the beginning of Spike Lee's Malcolm X. Right? Fantastic shot on the street in that film as well. Okay, we're still walking. The crane is now pulling back. It's going to pull up again. We're rising again. Now look, the car is back, right? The car has rejoined. These two main units in the narrative, the car bomb and our main characters. Okay.
American citizens?
I am, yes.
Where were you born, miss?
Mrs.
What?
Philadelphia.
The name is Vargas. Hey, Jim. See who's here? Sure, Mr. Vargas. Out on the trail of another dope ring? Out on the trail of a chocolate soda for my wife. Your wife?
Hot on the trail of another dope ring. He's the detective, right? Investigating. He's in an interracial marriage, which also was highlighted here.
Brandy's are a big family. Good night. No purchases, Mr. Lineker.
Hey, I got this.
You're an American citizen, miss?
No, I got this ticking noise.
Yeah, okay.
No, really, this
Good
ticking
night.
noise in my head.
Okay, only that poor woman recognizes the bomb. Okay, now we push in.
This is the very first time we've been together in my country.
Do you realize I haven't kissed you in over an hour?
And their kiss is interrupted, okay? The kiss, the honeymoon is interrupted by this bomb. It's just a brilliant, brilliant narrative foreshadowing through the use of this long tracking crane shot, okay? Let's keep going. The next shot we're going to talk about is the dolly shot. I've already mentioned the dolly shot, but I will define it here. The dolly shot is one of those cinematic techniques that, has like 10,000 different names and is sometimes confused for other types of shots. technically, the dolly shot refers to a camera technique where the camera is mounted on something called a dolly, a mobile platform that has, wheels, right? And the camera is moved around on this dolly, so the camera is able to move in space forwards and backwards and to the side on this horizontal plane, okay? But the dolly shot, as it's understood now, really just refers to any moving shot that is moving along this horizontal plane. The camera moving backwards or forwards, pushing in or pushing out, right? The dolly shot, or the camera, fixing on a subject and moving to the left or to the right. When the camera moves from side to side, that's sometimes called a crab shot. It's a specific type of dolly shot, okay? The dolly shot is also sometimes known as a tracking shot. The reason it's sometimes called a tracking shot is because, again, dolly shots used to typically be placed on a dolly that was placed on a track, right? The dolly has wheels. The wheels would go on a built track, a track that, the production team on the film, the camera department or the production team in the film would build an actual track that would enable for smooth movement of the camera. This is before the days of the Steadicam, right? Smooth movement of the camera as it moves through a space, okay? The camera body itself moving through space along this horizontal level, okay? The dolly shot that I want to show you guys is a really famous shot from Goodfellas. I'm sure that all of you guys have seen this film and have probably recognized how, incredibly fantastic the shot is. Now, people always call this a dolly shot and a tracking shot, but, technically it's a shot that's shot with a Steadicam. So do you see what I mean about how some of these terms are sort of interchangeable? I'm using it as an example so we can see the camera as it moves forward, the camera body pushing in and following our two characters, Henry and of course the woman who will eventually become his wife in this film. It's a really complex tracking shot. It walks through many different spaces. The camera is always in focus. Our characters are always in focus. We have, a change in frame size. We have a change, obviously, in blocking. A lot of complex, orchestration for this shot, which is one of the reasons why it's very famous. Let's watch it.
It's easier than leaving it out of the garage and waiting. It's a lot quicker that way. You know what I mean? Huh?
Going into the back entrance.
Waiting in line. How you doing? Good. What's up? There you go.
Okay, this narrow space, low lighting, but still, everything is beautifully photographed still, even though we have this change in light.
Every time you do. What you want?
Fantastic. Now we're falling through the kitchen. There are all these other actors moving about. Narrow space. We're getting a tour of the kitchen. Tight space. Henry knows everybody. Here we're in the nightclub. Okay, we're finally above ground. This is another long take, right? Now we're following the table.
Good. How you doing? We gave them $20 each. Sorry.
Henry, this is what Mr. Tomey over there. Where? Over there. Oh,
This great camera movement. Okay, the pan.
What do you do? What? What do you do? I'm in construction. I don't feel like you're in construction. Oh, I'm a union delegate.
Union delegate.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Copacabana is proud to present the king of the one-liners, Henny Youngman.
And then we have this great movement back here. Okay, we'll stop here. I wanted you to see this shot not only because it's this famous example of a tracking shot or a dolly shot, technically a Steadicam shot, but also because it really gives us a sense that camera movement really gives us an idea of how Karen is the character played by Lorraine Bracco in that scene, how Karen feels suddenly in Henry's world, right? Like everything is a whirlwind. There's so much activity. There's so much movement. There's so much excitement going on, okay? That is expressed through the camera movement. It's a great marriage of camera technique and narrative intent, okay? Let's keep going. We're almost done here, you guys. The pan shot, wonderful, wonderful technique. This is a camera technique in which the camera body itself doesn't change locations, but it swivels, okay? The camera itself is mounted on a swivel head that enables the camera to sort of, go to the left, go to the right, but the body remains stable, okay? It moves, in other words, along an axis, you can think, okay? Swiveling from left to right. That's the pan shot. The example that I wanted to give of a pan shot is, of course, from Vertigo. This is one of the most famous applications of the pan shot. The reason I love to use Vertigo in talking about the pan shot, there are a couple of great pans in Vertigo, but they're often sort of complex compound camera movements, like a pan combined with a dolly moving forward or a dolly moving back. So I chose one that kind of purely looks like a pan shot, even though it's not exactly. It gives the sense, at least, of a pan shot of the camera staying in one place but just swiveling. I love, the use of pan shots in Vertigo because, of course, in Vertigo, we have the character Scotty that's shown right here. And, Scotty is madly in love with a woman that he thinks is named Madeline. And, as he's falling in love, he's losing control. And it's as if, the experience of falling in love is like vertigo. It's akin to vertigo, that spinning sensation, that falling sensation in which you have no control and you're just tumbling and falling and falling. And Hitchcock uses this kind of elegant, curving pan shot to approximate this kind of, psychological aspect of Scotty's character as he falls in love. Everything is swirling around him. He's falling. He has that sense of vertigo. So let's watch. Here's Madeline, who he thought was long lost to him. You guys will watch this film in this class, so I'm not going to go into the story too much. Okay, he's so in love. He's been longing for her for so long. She's back from the dead. She's got this perfect makeup. Okay, then they kiss and the camera starts to pan. Okay, now is this exactly a panning shot? I don't remember anymore how this shot was done. I think that is actually a screen in the background, okay? But let's just look at how it appears to us, right? Of this camera that is in one place but is swiveling. That's the appearance, right? Even though it's through the use of a rear screen in the back, okay? The camera, we're spinning with Scotty as he's madly in love, he's falling in love, we're panning, okay? We'll stop here. Let's keep going. We just have a couple more examples left. The pedestal shot. Okay, the pedestal shot is a camera technique in which the camera body will stay in the same location and the camera simply moves up or down a kind of vertical axis, okay? A lot of famous examples of the pedestal shot. I wanted to use a more contemporary one. Because I think that even though I literally cannot stand Quentin Tarantino, I think he's so racist. I think that, you know, the one of the best applications of the pedestal shot that I've ever seen is in Inglourious Bastards. Okay, Inglourious Bastards, in case you haven't seen it, is all about hunting down Nazis, right? But before we get to our crew who are hunting Nazis, we get to see the Nazis hunting Jewish people during World War II, right? So in this scene, we have a Nazi officer interviewing a French farmer, and that French farmer is hiding within his home a Jewish family or members of a Jewish family. It might just be one little girl. And there's so much tension here because, of course, as all of you know, I mean, anyone you know, hiding Jewish people during World War II, of course, themselves were at risk of being murdered, at the very least being imprisoned, but most likely being murdered. So there's this scene with such great tension, and we see this Jewish family or this Jewish little girl is hiding in the house. Tarantino is going to use this pedestal shot to give us this sense of urgency that as this Nazi officer is interviewing the farmer, interrogating the farmer, the little girl is hiding just below. Okay, let's watch.
9 or 10.
And Shoshana?
And Shoshana was 18 or 19. I'm not really sure.
Look at this great movement down, all the way down. He doesn't know about Shoshana. Guess what? Shoshana is underneath this level. Okay?
Well, I guess that should do it.
There she is, hiding, right? Look at the hand over the mouth, hiding. Her life depends on it.
Well, of course.
Okay, and then we have a cut there. This is another film that also uses incredible long takes, okay? It's an incredibly shot film. Let's see, what else? The Steadicam shot, you know, I won't give the example because I already showed you guys the example, but of course it's a shot in which a camera is held by an operator, and that operator wears this special kind of harness, okay? The technological advancement of the Steadicam shot is that it smooths out the motion of the camera as the operator moves, okay? The last example I want to give you is something called a tilt shot, okay? The tilt shot also relies upon a camera body that doesn't move in space. It doesn't change location. It simply rotates up or down. It tilts up or down, okay? So the body of the camera is still except for this up or down movement, okay? The example that I'm going to give, and I'm sure that some of you could probably already guess what example I'm going to give. It's one of the most famous examples of a tilt shot from Stanley Kubrick's film 2001: A Space Odyssey. This is going to be a really quick example of a tilt shot, but this is of course one of the many famous tilt shots in 2001. Looking up here. Let's watch. This beautiful shot of the moon, right? And the camera seems almost to be floating, as if it's floating in outer space, right? There's a great elegance in that movement as well, okay? Now, there is one more type of shot that I want to show you that I didn't define in the PowerPoint presentation. It's an example called the whip pan. So we remember the pan is when the camera body stays in one location, but it swivels back and forth like left and right, basically, right? You know, Paul Thomas Anderson is a director who uses a lot of whip pans. Scorsese also uses a lot of whip pans. This is just a collection or a montage that someone has online of all of the whip pans of Paul Thomas Anderson's films. I'm just going to show you like 30 seconds so you can see it. Oh, wait, what happened here?
I knew you'd make it.
The whip pan.
Hey, Eddie.
The whip pan.
Come here a second, will you?
Jack, I could do it again if
The
you
whip
need a close-up.
pan.
Parker,
The whip pan.
That's not true.
Okay, all those camera movements. Paul Thomas Anderson uses it in a really kind of great way. He almost uses it as an editing technique, transitioning between different locations, sometimes transitioning between scenes, definitely between different characters. So just that quick movement, that's the whip part, right? The whip pan is a fast pan. I just wanted you guys to see that as well, okay? So I will end this video lecture here. I do hope that all of you are well. I will, of course, speak to you again at a later time. Thank you so much, you guys. Take care. Bye.